What if the legendary Primarch, Leman Russ, actually returns to the galaxy? And what would that mean for the Space Wolves? It would be the biggest shakeup in the lore in years, would heal some old wounds, and tear open others. But according to some, the return of the Wolf King is not only inevitable, it's on the horizon. The significance of Leman Russ in the Warhammer setting just cannot be emphasized enough. As the Emperor's executioner, Russ was given the darkest task of all the Primarchs, to kill his brothers without question or hesitation, should his father the Emperor require it. Should any of the legions, or their gene fathers, raise arms against the Imperium of Man, Russ was there to put them down. And this required a loyalty beyond that of any of his brothers. Say what you want about the Lion, Dorn, Guilliman, etc. The loyalty of Russ was far beyond even theirs. But what the Space Wolves Primarch may have failed to realize was just how extreme of a task that would prove to be. And in the end, it may have just cost him his very life. Sure, the Emperor rewarded Russ's loyalty with the gift of the Spear of the Emperor, otherwise known as the Dionysian Spear. But Big E was never a good father to any of his children, other than Alpharius. To the Emperor, the Primarchs were tools, not sons, despite what he called them openly in public. And Russ was simply the Emperor's attack dog. After all, every pet owner knows your friends and family will sometimes betray you or act against you, oftentimes unknowingly, but a dog will never undermine its owner's plans in any way. Ironically, for Leman Russ, the loyalty did not swing both ways. And this is where we get to the uncertainty of the fate of the Space Wolves Primarch. For Leman Russ, being that obedient to a fault attack dog that he was, attacked his brother Horus head on, taking the fight to the War Master and boarding his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. Russ knew that he wasn't going to win, or at least he thought that. Horus thought that too, but Russ wasn't even trying to win. He just needed to get one good blow in with the Emperor's spear, and then he could get Horus to possibly snap out of his crack addiction. Acceptance of the Chaos Gods. For the spear was bestowed with the ability to show the truth to anyone who was stabbed by it. This is how loyal Leman Russ was to the cause of the Emperor. He willingly walked into a nightmarish hellscape to face a more powerful Primarch drawing from a well of nearly limitless power. Horus, having the gifts of all 4 Chaos Gods bestowed upon him, was an absolute beast, the likes of which the galaxy may have never seen. But did Russ hesitate? He had a job to do. With Horus underestimating him, Russ did deliver a blow to the War Master, and it was indeed with the Dionysian Spear. Russ could have ended Horus's life right then and there, but the power of the Spear of Russ, it is called that as well since it is his now and all, opened up Horus's eyes to the truth. And what Russ saw before him was not the chaos-corrupted version, but his true brother, the Horus Lupercal who he knew. His brother, the greatest Chad that ever lived. However, Russ was not ready for the truth that was revealed to him. Horus still did not want anything to do with the Emperor, even after momentarily escaping the influence of chaos. Horus was not going to be culled by his father the way the Emperor had done the Thunder Warriors. Horus was not going to do all the heavy lifting and create a galactic imperium through so much bloodshed, only to be cast aside, betrayed, and forgotten, while lesser men reaped the benefits of his hard work. And since Russ did not deliver the fatal blow, believing that he had saved his brother, Horus was able to turn the tide and impaled Russ on his own spear. The Space Wolves Primarch fought on but was eventually laid open by the horrific talon of Horus and absolutely mutilated. Horus stood poised to deliver the fatal blow to Russ with the Mace Worldbreaker. The Wolf King would have died if it weren't for the heroics of his chapter, as wave after wave of the Vilka Fenrika rushed the corrupted War Master, dying in droves as Horus ripped through them with Worldbreaker. The Space Wolves Primarch was carried from the battlefield, unconscious, shredded to pieces, and barely clinging to life. Later he awoke and drank with his sons, but declared that he was indeed dying, He gave the spear of the Emperor to Bjorn the Fell-Handed and went off into the webway, ostensibly to die. He said that he would return for the wolf time, the final battle, no matter if he were alive or dead, took his bodyguard, and disappeared. Now there are 1,000 rumors about where he is and what he is doing, but to me personally, I think he told us, straight up, flat out, Russ went off to die. As he said to the Space Wolves when departing, "Then, my children, I shall listen for your call in whatever realm of death holds me. And come I shall, no matter what the laws of life and death forbid. At the end, I will be there for the final battle, for the wolf time." Now he exists only in the Sea of Souls, like the other dead Primarchs, and like Corvus Corax, if you believe what I laid out in the video I did about him. And this is the best way to keep it. I mean, the Primarchs are demigods essentially, and the Emperor stole power from the gods to create them. They are an amalgamation of transhuman engineering far above that of a typical Space Marine, or even the Adeptus Custodes, and warp energies and entities that existed in the Immaterium long before the Emperor started the Primarch project. So for me, death is not exactly the same for a Primarch as it is for anyone else. It is almost just like a greater demon getting banished back to the warp. The Primarchs are the stuff of nightmares. They are warp energies. They are power beyond even their own understanding, as evidenced by Corvus Corax and what he has transcended into. I believe that Russ actually has gone into the warp to die, but that is all just part of his process. The Space Wolves draw heavily from Viking and Norse mythology, and though they refer to the Emperor as the All-Father in the way that the Norse referred to Odin, the parallels between Russ and Odin cannot be ignored. Russ has been rumored to be seeking the Tree of Life, to heal the Emperor and restore him to full life. But I believe it is something more personal. I believe he is seeking to heal his own body, not the Emperor's. Even if he were to flat out die, and I believe he did, then his soul would still carry on in the warp. So going into the warp, he can exist in a place where he can function more or less unburdened by the physical form anyway. In a place where he is made of the very stuff of the realm itself, and is a part of it. But the true return to the setting of Warhammer 40K for Leman Russ has not only been heralded throughout the lore with many breadcrumbs, Easter eggs, hints, and suggestions, but through the miniature community as well. There are some very vocal members of the Warhammer community that have been leaking model releases for years now, and they were right about all the other Primarchs that have returned, and now they all seem to be barking about Russ returning. When I started making this video, I was not a big fan. In fact, I've played Dark Angels since 3rd edition and have only ever considered the Space Wolves to be insufferable furries. I was ready to talk about Leman Russ, the dumbest Primarch, and I have about 25 years or so of preconceived notions about him. In fact, he was my second least favorite Primarch and Space Wolves my second least favorite legion of the Adeptus Astartes. But that has all changed. I have found a love for this Primarch that is actually unnerving, and for the first time ever, I'm happy to say that I look forward to his inevitable return, no matter what lore shenanigans or retcons they have to pull off to do it. But I do think that a returned Russ should be a lot different from the Primarch we saw during the Horus heresy and its aftermath. Whatever he has become, it should be practically feral, especially if he was in the warp this whole time. It is rumored that the 13th Company of the Wolfen were sent by Russ to ruin the Day of Traitors. It would not be shocking to see the Wolf King come back more wolf than king. The return of such a polarizing figure would be a lot more fun than even someone so beloved as Sanguinius or as stoic as Dorn. And with the Lion already awakened and active in the 41st, or is it 42nd now, millennium, it would be a lot of fun to see the rivalry between the Space Wolves and Dark Angels turn into something a little bit spicier. After all, with the Imperium beset on all sides by Necrons, Tyranids, Chaos, Orcs, etc., what better way to increase the level of grimdarkness than by kicking off an Imperial civil war between Primarchs, all happening behind Guilliman's back while he's unaware? Could be very, very interesting. Where are you on the Wolf Lord's return? Will the Vilka Fenrika see their Primarch again? Is the wolf time upon us now? Black Library sure seems to think so, but let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Warhammer 40,000 lore, deep dives, hot takes, and conspiracy theories.